Good afternoon. Can everybody hear me okay? Great. Whenever I hear my bio read, I always turn around and say, who is that person? That can't be me. I can remember when I first got commissioned, so it's quite an honor and pleasure to be here today to speak to you. I'm very passionate about Afghanistan, provincial reconstruction teams, understanding the human dimension of different peoples, and how we can better prepare our interagency teams to be more effective in their efforts. My presentation today represents my personal thoughts on what the interagency and whole-of-government process currently looks like, through the lens at the field level for over 15 years in a variety of assignments as an active-duty civil affairs officer, and now in my current role in Washington, D.C. at the strategic level. It does not represent, however, Department of State or Department of Defense thinking, policy, or doctrine. And before I switch slides, I just want to point out my picture here was taken on the 26th of December in a very pivotal shura that we were doing in Jalalabad with the governor and many of the senior elders. And so if we have time, we'll come back to it. Because as you can see, I'm wearing a green headscarf, and there's a reason for that. Working in an interagency environment as a member of the United States Armed Forces, from my perspective, is more of an art, probably from that picture, and not necessarily a science. Although there's a plethora of doctrine and books on the subject, much of what needs to take place is based on personal relationships, networking, critical thinking, and a strong educational foundation. If we do not find balance in our backgrounds and skills, then the enemy will continue to exploit our very bureaucratic tendencies, agency stovepipes, and tendency to relearn each time we send in a new rotation. I'm going to use my experiences with the PRT in Afghanistan as a vehicle to highlight the potential benefits of reconciliation. Now, if I can figure out how to work this thing. Oh, there we go. Provincial reconstruction teams first found their roots in the Coalition Humanitarian Liaison Cells, CHICLETs, established in early 2002 in Afghanistan that were designed to begin coordinating the activities of the U.S. and other international organization partners to include the United Nations Afghan mission to Afghanistan that had established small outposts in Jalalabad, Kandahar, Herat, and Mazar-e-Sharif. CHICLETs had three functions: assess humanitarian needs, implement small-scale hearts and minds projects, and to begin coordination with UNAMA and the other NGOs working in the provinces. The scope and concept of CHICLETs grew into a new organization called Provincial Reconstruction Teams, or PRTs. They were established early on in Gardez, Bamiyan, and Kunduz. These three PRTs were of strategic importance to the interim government of Afghanistan and President Karzai, as they represented areas of tribal and rival factions that could have disrupted the progress made thus far by the international community. PRTs were instrumental in creating the political desire of the international community to share the burden of nation building to avoid the perception that the U.S. and international community were invading Afghanistan. PRTs, due to their provincial focus and civil military resources, have wide latitude to accomplish their mission by extending the authority of the central government by improving security, supporting good governance, and enabling economic development. This has been in the past the strength of the PRT, as it provided a flexible approach and resources to support the provincial government, improving security, and gain population support, not only of the USG actions, but more importantly, to recognize the efforts of their own government at the central, provincial, and district level. Now, as a good military person, we always have to have a mission statement. So, I'll let you read through this, but it's important. Here's the PRT mission statement from 2005 that was agreed upon by the interagency at the CJTF 76 level in Bagram in an effort to further refine our focus at the field level. As previously, there was much dissent on the original mission statement, as many in USAID and even Department of State did not feel that they were there to be involved in counterinsurgency operations. PRTs worked to bring the Afghan government to the population. It was not an Afghan-faced strategy, but an Afghan-led, as it was time now to push the provincial and district leadership to make decisions for the population and increasing the security situation so that development efforts could begin. Again, another good military slide. Just to give you a little bit of context of our area of operations. Jalalabad is the capital city of the Nangarhar province, due east of Kabul, and borders Pakistan. Nangarhar is considered a strategic gateway due to several factors. History shows us if Jalalabad fell, Kabul fell. the economic importance of Khyber Pass, the rich agricultural capacity that has the potential to produce roughly 60% of Afghans' food requirements with the right development, a licit and illicit trade route with the outside world. It has, over the last 5 years, produced 15 to 20% of the world's heroin, depending on the year. Haji Qadir, in early times, welcomed in bin Laden when he was forced out of Sudan, provided sanctuary for al-Qaeda training camps, hosted the infamous Tora Bora battle early in Operation Enduring Freedom, conclaimed the successful launch of the first Stinger missile by the Mujahideen against the Soviets, and is located on the Afghan side of the Durrani line. That line divides the Afghan and Pashtun Pashtun tribes and is seen as something imposed by an outside nation. Many Pashtuns on both sides of the border don't recognize the border, or more importantly, either government in control of that territory. Another important point on this slide is that there are only 20 districts listed because the central government only recognizes 20. But in our province, those 20 were actually 24. And the problem is when the central government services are handed out, those 4 districts felt disenfranchised and was a cause for instability. When I first arrived at the PRT, a thorough understanding of the tribal breakdown wasn't as well known as it should have been. We spent a great deal of time talking with elders, district and provincial leaders to gain a better picture of the tribal relationships. This was very important, as despite being in a predominantly Pashtun area, that isn't enough understanding of the people. Each tribe has a long history. The Shinwaris, for instance, are notoriously defiant, frequently disrupting the main trade route from Khyber Pass to Jalalabad, often known to march to Jalalabad, and in years past burned down the King's Palace near the main mosque.